everyone. Oh, sorry, my screen is changing into different screens. Okay, got it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2024 Ask the Expert series. Today, we're going to talk about the 6 rules of fitness for your life, your simple action plan for living your best life after 40, 50, and beyond. And today we have our expert, Becky Williamson. Hello, Becky. Hi. Thanks for being here. Now, I want you to know that Becky she's from here. She's been in the fitness industry for over 30 years. So if we have anybody who's an expert, I think we picked the right person. Am I right? I hope so.
I hope so.
So Becky owns and operates LifeSport Fitness, which is here in San Jose. It's a personal training center for busy professionals who are over 40, who want personalized, time-efficient workout and lifestyle coaching to feel their best. In addition, she's written some books. She's the author of The 6 Rules of Fitness for Life, which is what she's presenting on today. She's also the co-author of the New York Times best-selling book, The Fit Formula, as well as the ebook, Ready for Prime Time in No Time. And I think the key here is your focus really is the over 40 and the busy professional who only has so much time, and this is what we have to get done today, right? That's kind of what it is.
Exactly.
Okay, so before Becky presents, I just want everyone to know that we're recording today's webinar. So if you find it really helpful, you want to watch it again, you want to share it, it will be available next week. If we have any technical issues today while we're doing our presentation, Wendy, our amazing marketing manager, is here with us, and she's monitoring the chat. So if you have any technical issues, feel free to put those in the chat. If you have any questions that you want Becky to answer, not Maggie, but Becky, then you want to put those in the Q&A, and we'll have some time at the end today after Becky's presentation where she will answer all of your burning fitness over 40 questions, or just fitness questions in general, I think, right? Okay, Becky, I'm going to turn it over to you because I know you have a lovely presentation for us.
All righty. All right. So that's the book. It's 6 Rules of Fitness for Life. And it's probably a compilation of a lot of answers to fitness questions I've gotten over the years. I've been over 40 for a really long time now, so I do understand the market. And I think that although the human body hasn't necessarily changed over the last 100 years as far as what we know about it, how it moves and how it works, it's pretty much the same. But I think how we train it, and especially how we treat our over 40, over 50, over 60, and over 70-year-old bodies has changed a little bit because we know a little bit more than we did a few years ago. So today, I think, this is my opinion, I tend to cite a lot of research, but this slide right here is just Becky. And I believe that we, those over 40 and 50 and 60, are really redefining what middle age looks like. What I mean by that is if any of us on the call or the webinar today can kind of think back to if we were alive in, say, the 60s or the 70s, and maybe there was a grandma who was 62, 63 years old, we probably have this image of gray hair, sensible shoes, a house dress, and maybe the nylons rolled down to the ankles, right? Sedentary, read books, maybe knitted and cooked for everybody on every holiday. Not that any of those things are necessarily bad, but I think people were sort of put out to pasture when they were over 50 or whatnot. And we're different. A lot of us are going to be working for a lot longer. So I'd like to say that the 50 and 60 and 70-year-olds of today are living a more active life, want to live a more active life, and are allowed to live a more active life than maybe people who were 50 in 1937. So in any case, we think of people as over 40 and over 50 as getting old. And for the women, we talk about the menopause. After menopause, we get the thicker waistline, and we slow down, and our knees hurt and our back hurts and whatnot. So is that normal? Do we have to get fatter, slower, and out of shape as we age? Not necessarily. And here's what I mean by that. I can't make anybody younger by bringing them here to my studio. I wish I could, but I can't, because I do it to myself first if that was possible. But what we can do is help that over 40, over 50 person feel better, move better, and live what I would say younger and feel younger than their counterpart of the same age who's doing absolutely nothing and letting age and gravity take over. So here's what I do know. Here's the nerdy part of what I do is I do like to read up on research on who's saying what's working and what's not. So when I was writing my book, I did look at some research on what's going on, what happens as we age. And years ago, research was done on older people, but most of those people were sedentary. Think of research in the 60s and the 70s, and they're looking at a 75-year-old doing a leg press. Well, that 75-year-old probably doesn't move a lot. Well, now we've got research that I cite in my book of people 65 and 75, and they're literally they're physically active, they're cyclists, they're runners, whatnot, weightlifters. Researchers actually did muscle biopsies and looked at the muscle fibers and the muscle thickness and the muscle health of these older individuals and found that they weren't matched that well to their sedentary 65-year-old counterparts. They were measured, they were more like a 45-year-old or a 35-year-old active person. So what does that tell us? That activity and moving your body as you get older maintains your body. Now, genetics can play a part in how we age. Your nutrition, your diet is huge on how you age. Smoking, alcohol use, and lack of physical activity, all those things will affect how you age and how you feel. So if you want to feel younger, longer, let's go over the rules. Let's figure out how to do this. So rule number 1 is find your why. Why do I say that? I actually say this even to a 25-year-old, but I'll tell you why I started with this one. When people come to me as a fitness coach, very often I'm asking them to change things. Sometimes it's adding something in, exercise, more vegetables, an hour extra of sleep. Sometimes I'm asking them to take something away, fewer sodas, fewer desserts, less salt or less sugar. These are all things that take time to achieve. We don't change everything tomorrow. If we do, we'll be a kind of an unhappy person because it's kind of stressful. So what I tell people is find your why, because 2 reasons. 1, it helps you focus and get to your goal. 2, when the going gets tough, and it will, you remember your why. So what am I talking about when I say why? I want you to dig deep. We tell people, well, actually, I don't tell them this, I just do this. We peel the onion. For instance, if Maggie came to me and said, I want to run faster. Okay, great goal, because we can measure that. That's a nice one. I'm a nerdy person. I like to prove my point.
And I do want to run faster, just so you know,
there we
that's
go.
my goal.
So there we go. Well, and I'd ask Maggie why. And she said, well, because I want to have a PR, a personal record. Okay, why? Why is that important? And maybe she'll I'll have to ask her 4 or 5 times. And let's say what we get down to is that she wants to, and I'm making this up because I don't know any of Maggie's family history, but maybe she says, I want to run because I know it's healthy for me. And I've had some ancestors, maybe aunts, uncles, mom, dad, grandma, who had disease early. And I don't want that to happen to me because I want to be there for my kids. That gets you right there. I want to run faster. That's good to kind of get you going. But when she goes, it's cold outside and I don't really feel like running. I didn't sleep very well. I'm just going to bail on my run. But then she goes, I don't want to die early like my grandma. I don't want to get sick like my grandma. That is your why. That's what keeps you going. Many people, when I say why, they're giving me their goal. That's the what. Run faster is the what in the scenario I gave you. The why is, and again, maybe it's a PR, maybe because she wants to feel powerful, but why? It's usually something that's right in your gut. And that's what I ask people for. And that is what I want people to think about when they're starting to change something because they want to feel better, look better, move better, or enjoy better health as an older person. Rule number 2, train for the goal. I see this a lot in 35 plus years of training people to be healthier and stronger and more fit, is that sometimes what they set out to do because they saw it on Facebook or Instagram, or well, I was a fitness instructor before Al Gore invented the internet. So what they read in a book or saw in Shape magazine, right? Sometimes that's not the right programming for them. Your fitness goals as a 50-year-old are likely different than when you were 25. When we were 25, we wanted to look hot for the next sorority party, right? Or the next, well, I guess not at 25, but maybe the grad school party, right? Not that that's a bad thing, but I think when we get over 50, we start to realize our own mortality and we're like, oh man, I'm slowing down. So the goals are a little bit different. Rather than fitting into the skinny jeans, which I know it feels good at any age, sometimes it's more about how we feel, how we move, or avoiding getting the diabetes like grandma did when she was 60, or having that fall that broke the hip at 72. So we want to train to make sure we're doing the things that will get us what we want. So what are your pressing issues today as a 72-year-old or a 57-year-old or a 42-year-old? Is it joint pain? Maybe it's you feel stiff, it's kind of hard to get down on the ground and pick up something and get back up again. Maybe it's your doctor has said you have osteoporosis. Maybe it's you've been battling extra weight for years and it's affecting other things. None of us are supposed to be a size 2. Not every male is going to have a 34-inch waist. So here at my studio, we do look at weight if people ask us that, but we look at other things as well that probably are maybe more important to the bigger picture than just our scale weight. So your exercise choices and your nutrition should be targeted to your desired outcome. This is where I could expand and talk about all different goals and what you should do for that. And I don't want to take the next 2 hours to do that. You can find that in the book. And also if you have a specific goal and you're listening today, we can talk about that in the Q&A. But I'll give you an example. Many women in my age bracket, I'm 63, we're dealing with osteoporosis. Now, all exercise is great, but if I have somebody come in here and say, okay, my cardio is great, I have osteoporosis, but I'm doing swimming and I do Peloton 3 times a week. They're awesome exercises. They're not that great for managing or improving or maintaining bone density. Sorry, I just kicked my stool and I made myself wiggle. I made the screen wiggle. Swimming is good. It does pull, the muscles pull on the bones, which can help. But if somebody comes to me and says they have osteoporosis, we'll be looking at weight training and or weight bearing exercise, like walking up hills, maybe doing little hops on a step or 25 jump ropes a day, something where we're doing a little bit of minimal pounding on the bones. So training for the goals is important. Always keep in mind, what is it that I want? And am I doing the right activities between my nutrition choices and my exercise choices to get that goal? Then I skipped a slide. Yep. So now we're on to mind your muscle. I have a whole rule on this because I've decided that this is the Bible according to Becky. I think if there is such a thing as the fountain of youth, for maintaining a feeling of youth and maintaining or slowing down the process of becoming frail, it's strength training. And here's why. Well, actually, I'll go to the next slide. Getting your muscles strong is probably the best thing you can do to slow down your own personal aging process. And we tell people here, move it or lose it, because after 40, if we sit around a lot, our muscles atrophy. There's actually a fancy name for it called sarcopenia. And we even say it's age-related sarcopenia. In English, that means age-related muscle loss. It will happen if you don't challenge your muscles, they'll kind of atrophy. So we need to strength train. And granted, this is what we do here, so it sounds like it's very self-serving. Work out in your garage after listening to this. Go to Orange Theory. I'm cool with that. Just start strength training. Why? Well, first and foremost, we all want to burn more calories, right? Maybe without even having to do anything. Well, if you strength train regularly 2 to 3 times a week, over time, if you strength train properly, you're going to burn more muscles as you just sit here and listen to this webinar. So if I'm sitting next to a woman who's the same weight as me, the same age as me, basically the same size, but maybe she has a little more fat mass and I have more muscle, but we're the same weight, I'm burning calories more than she is right when we're sitting here. That's kind of cool, right? It's because muscle is burning calories even as we sit. The body fat kind of just sits around, doesn't do a whole lot. So number one, over time, it takes work to do this. You will boost your resting metabolism, not by hundreds and thousands of calories a day, but perhaps 10 or 20 or 30 calories an hour. Do the math. It adds up. You could decrease your low back pain and you could decrease your arthritis pain. Now, I have a bulging disc in my back and quite a bit of arthritis on one side of my spine. I strength train to develop the muscles in my hip and the front of my core. because that supports my spine on either side, that arthritic spine that isn't that great. My arthritis will always be there. It's a structural change. But if I can strengthen the muscles around those backbones, the vertebrae, they move less and they support that degrading joint a little bit. So strength training is great, done properly for muscle, or for low back pain, shoulder pain, arthritis pain. Also, when you strength train, you'll improve your mobility, your balance will get better. Again, depending on how you organize your strength training. We do a lot of balance training here just because we train mainly people over 40. And your posture. I don't think but maybe one person has come in here in the last 2 years to say they want to improve their posture, but some people have come in here with some pretty bad posture. We give them what they want, whatever they're saying they want or they need. I also give them what I think they need, which is a lot of work on the back. We do some back exercises to help with the posture. So strength training can definitely improve posture. Here's an interesting one. Strength training can prevent falls. Now, I can't prevent any one of you walking outside and tripping on a curb. I trip on, there's some weight training benches here in the studio. I trip on them every day, I think, the little feet that come out from the bench. But here's the thing. If we strength train, we're stronger and we have better balance. So we're less likely to actually collapse into the fall. Also, if we have stronger bones, because strength training can help maintain or slow down age-related bone loss, we might not break. Frail people with osteoporosis, they might break. If we've got strong muscles and better balance, fewer opportunities to fall, or I mean, I guess we all have the same opportunity to fall, but less likelihood of falling and a lesser chance of breaking a bone. Rule number 4, recovery matters. Why? Because we old folks don't bounce back as fast. Bottom line. Why? A lot of different reasons. The tissue, our muscle, our soft tissue, muscle, bone, ligament, they're just not as pliable as they used to be. If they do get injured or overstretched, they just take a little more time to repair than when we were 22. Also, we have fluid in between our joints, all our long bones, hips and knees and fingers and toes. It's called synovial fluid. It's just, think of it as kind of like a wash that washes over our bones. We don't have as much of that, and it gets a little stickier as we get older. So sometimes we have to take more time to do things, and next slide will tell you that. We respond to exercise and strength training, any kind of exercise, whether it's running, cardio, jumping jacks, cardio, or lifting weights. We respond differently because our tissues are a little bit different. So what I find with my over 40 crowd is we need a longer warm up. We need sometimes more recovery in between, say, strength training sessions, or if you run hard on Saturday, Sunday stretching and yoga or foam rolling. I've also seen that some of us need to maybe minimize our impact activities. So if we do a high intensity interval training today, maybe some jump rope and squat jumps or whatnot, tomorrow might need to be more low impact. Somebody the other day, I recently took up pickleball, and somebody on the pickleball court said, I stop at 90 minutes. After 90 minutes, my body just doesn't feel good. And this is a guy in his 70s, but he's learned how to recover. That's his recovery, is he doesn't play every day and he manages how much time he does things. So what are examples of recovery activities? It could be a rest day, but here are some things that I've got bulleted here that you might not think about, but they play into recovery. In my book, they are part of recovery. Walking. Now, I don't mean walking up a hill, like going to Almaden Quicksilver and walking 6 miles. I mean walking to CVS to pick up your saline solution or your prescription down the street, walking your dog around the corner and back, walking for a mile, those easy types of things. Yoga, plenty of awesome yoga that you can pick up on YouTube for free. 20-minute yoga, that's a great way to recover. Basic stretching. Again, if you don't know exactly what to do, Google on YouTube 20-minute stretching routine, and I'm sure you'll find plenty of things to help you out. If you don't, hit me up. I think I've got a recording of a 25-minute guided stretch. I'll send you the link. It's easy to do, and it's kind of nice to have somebody tell you what to do. Foam rolling. I was going to bring one and I forgot. It's on the other side of my studio, but it's self-myofascial release, which in English means massaging the muscles yourself. So massaging tight thighs, massaging the low back, getting the kinks out of the low back. It's a great way to help the muscles recovery. And believe it or not, sleep. Sleep is recovery. And some of us don't get enough. So sleep is when your muscles recover. In fact, we joke about it here that we say, how do we say it? That you work out here today, it's tomorrow when the strength actually happens. That's when the muscle fibers that were kind of torn up a little bit by the strength training, that's when they knit back together and recover. So that's why we say you got to take a day of rest in between strength training days. And some of our folks here take 2 days. They'll come in Monday, Thursday. They might do Tuesday, Saturday, because they want more time to recover from the strength training. Rule number 5, be flexible. And I actually mean this 2 ways. There's probably one way you're already thinking about, and that's muscles, right? But there's another way we have to be flexible as we get older. So 2 ways to think about flexibility when we're older. 1, how your body moves, which is what most people think about flexibility. The other thing is how your mind works and the decisions that you make. And what I mean is in our minds, we might feel like we're 25 years old. Young at heart, young in the mind, but our body, my bones are still 63 years old. So we need to be flexible in how we allow ourselves to recover, how we allow ourselves to make changes when our body says, that might've been too much on the deadlift. Your mobility, that's your joint range of motion, and your flexibility, that's the pliability of the muscle fibers, can decrease as you age, unless you work on maintaining it. So as an older individual, we need to include stretching and mobility exercises in our programming. Now, back in my 20s, I have to admit that I didn't do a lot of a warm-up. What I did is I did my cardio first, and then I did my strength training. And I said, well, my cardio on the stair climber, that's my warm-up. And then I just went in to do my strength training. Now, as I've gotten much older, I've realized that I need to do the thing that is most important to me in my exercise day first. So strength training is more important to me than cardio. Cardio is important, but I want to maintain my muscle, and keeping my back healthy is super important to me. So I warm up, I do a mobility routine, and so does every single person who walks in here. They do, it depends on how they move, but usually 5, 6, 7 minutes. Some of our older clients they're extending their warm up a little bit more. It's not stretching. They stretch when they're done with their workout. We have them do what we call mobility or joint mobilization. They start at their ankles, they do all these fun little things, and they work up into their shoulders and basically their neck and their chest. And then they strength train, and then they stretch afterwards. We need to include mobility and stretching in our program, because especially if you're new to strength training, once you start strength training, those muscles are going to tighten up a little bit. So you really need to pay attention to them. The second thing, aside from body mobility and flexibility, is maintaining an open mind as you age. And this is something that I have to work on daily. I sometimes have more of a closed mindset, and I'm trying to have more of a growth mindset, training myself to rethink things. Sometimes we have to train around injuries and painful body parts. It is part of aging that some things like arthritis may rear their ugly head. But we can still exercise. We just sometimes have to train around it. I tweaked my back about 10 days ago. I couldn't strength train, so I took a week off of strength training. And then when I worked back into strength training, I eliminated certain things and brought back in others just to protect my back. I didn't want to re-injure it. Most of us need to increase our warm-up time. I do not strength train. Nobody strength trains here without warming up. You just have to. We had a person come in once go, I'm so sorry I was late. There was traffic on 680. Can I just skip the warm-up and hop into the workout? I'm like, no. No. You can skip your core work. You can skip the intervals at the end of the workout, or you can do fewer sets, but the warm-up stays. Something else gets truncated. The warm-up doesn't go away ever. And be okay with taking a day off. I had to take a week off. I did not start strength training again until I felt confident that the back pain was less. I had some what's called muscle guarding. It felt like there was a vice grip on my spine. My muscles were all tight. Until that decreased by 90%, it just was a no-go for me. It's a bummer, but you know what? 1 week in the scheme of my lifetime is not going to make a big difference. But if I go lift weights too soon, I might be out for 3 weeks, and that can happen to any of us. Putting time limits on some activities, like the guy that I said who was in his 70s and he said 90 minutes is his limit on pickleball. He's learned his limits. Sometimes changing your routine to suit how you're feeling. You've got a cranky shoulder or a low back that's a little stiff. Working out might actually help it, the mobility work you do before you would lift weights, but maybe you have to not put weights on your shoulders because you don't want the compression on your spine, or maybe the knee's a little cranky, so you take out the squat and you do something else for the butt muscle that doesn't include the knee. A lot of thigh and hip exercises include the knee, but if you know what you're doing, you can take it out. So be flexible and know that you aren't 25 anymore. You want to live to be whatever you can be, but you want to feel good. So just train around what isn't working and be a little bit more flexible in your mindset. Be kind to yourself. Rule number 6. This is not my rule. It's just a known fact in research and everything else is you can't out-train a poor diet. I wish it wasn't true. Please don't shoot the messenger. I wish I could change it. I wish I could tell people they can come in here 2 to 3 times a week and every life problem that revolves around their fitness or their waistline will be solved. But we have to talk about food. We have to talk about food. 2 basic truths about calories. We don't burn as many as we think we do when we exercise, even if you're looking at this thing or your Fitbit or whatever. Sometimes it overestimates. And I'm not calling anybody a liar, but research shows, not just Coach Becky, that we eat and drink more than we think we do. Most rules of thumb, most of the research studies will say that people underestimate their recall and their food journaling, where I tell you today what I ate yesterday, by about 15 to 20%. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but if you multiply it out over weeks and months, it's significant. And it could be the reason that the scale isn't moving or that the scale isn't tipping, that things aren't changing. So it's sort of a joke, but it's actually serious, is we talk about here at the studio, the other 165, because we have shorter sessions than 1 hour, but let's just say people go to the gym for an hour 3 times a week. All right, that's 3 hours a week. They come here for about 45 or 50 minutes. Well, what you do the other 165 can completely support what you did here, or it can completely obliterate it. Now, I'll get you stronger. Doesn't matter what you eat. I can get people stronger. Strength training works. However, if somebody wants to decrease arthritic pain or they want to decrease their body fat, we have to look at food, because sometimes exercise alone just won't get you to your goals. So let's say you're exercising, but the goals that you wanted aren't showing up. And if we've already targeted the exercise and nutrition to the goal that you said you wanted, because we talked about training for the goal, here's some things that we want to look at that you might not have thought about. Some of these probably make sense, but others maybe not. I put the big one at the top: sleep habits. Research has shown people who are chronically sleep deprived eat more calories every day, and they eat a diet higher in fast digesting carbohydrates. Think breads, cookies, muffins, tortillas, comfort food, mac and cheese, right? Why? Hormones in your brain are like they're digging at you. They're knocking on your brain going, come on, Maggie, eat that chip, because you're sleep deprived, right? And it makes you feel better.
And you're making me hungry, just so
I'm sorry, yeah. So sleep is super important. Not only the hours that we get, but sometimes the quality. I'm a person that wakes up a lot. I'll wake up at 2:45 in the morning, 3:45, 4:45, usually at 4:45. That's 15 minutes before the alarm goes off. So I'm like, okay, you win, universe, I'm getting up. But we really need to look at sleep quality and do what we can to improve it, or perhaps lengthen our sleep time if we think we need to. Intake of highly processed carbohydrates, things like chips, cookies, pastries, breads, rices. Am I telling you not to ever eat those? Oh God, no. I am not that kind of coach, because I'd be a hypocrite if I told you not to eat those things. I eat breads, rice, cookies, tortillas. I manage how much I eat, but I do eat those. Intake of added sugar. Things that, now people sometimes put sweetener, honey or sugar, in their cereals, their oatmeal, their coffee, their tea. So you're physically adding it, you know it, right? but there's things where you didn't add the sugar, but it's already there. Would you believe pasta sauce added sugar? Read the label. Some soups, get this, cream of tomato soup, it had 24 grams of sugar in a serving. That's like 6 tablespoons of sugar, teaspoons of sugar. Who knew, right? So you get, when you're eating processed foods that were put together for you, that they're heat and eat, or they're just, eat out of the bag, you're often getting lots of sugar that you don't even realize. Salad dressings is another one. Yogurt, if it's not plain yogurt, there's added sugar. There's also sugar from the lactose in the milk. So if you ever read a label on yogurt, there will always be some sugar. But now that I believe it's legal, it's a law that you have to have added sugar on the label, that's what you want to look at. Noosa yogurt, hate to bash a brand, that's dessert, you guys. 35 grams of sugar. And I think that would be about 28 added sugar. Yeah, that's dessert. Tastes really good, but it's dessert. Anywho, intake of added sugar, it's sneaky, and it can screw up weight loss. It can also jack up your insulin levels. So then when you have high circulating insulin, it's hard for your body to utilize stored fat for fuel. It just becomes a problem. Posture while reading or sitting at the computer. A lot of people are like this all day. Why is that a problem? Well, if you tell me you want to decrease your shoulder pain or your chronic headaches, we have to look at posture. And not just when you're weight training. We say a lot about that here is strength training, good posture, because you don't want to strength train all bunched up, because then you'll walk out of here all bunched up, because that's the strongest position for you. So we do talk about good posture while you're strength training, but we need to use good posture in other times as well, because that can affect how we feel. Case in point, I was an in-home trainer before I had my studio here, and one of my clients worked at home, and she kept complaining about low back pain and kind of mid shoulder pain. And I said, well, can I see your work setup? Where's your, like, are you on a laptop? Are you on a desktop? And she goes, oh, well, come up to the bedroom. So I thought I was going to see a desk. She was kind of a joke. She pointed to her bench. She goes, I work right there. In her bed, laptop on her knees. So she's like this, right? Well, we had to put the kibosh on that, and magically her back started feeling better. I did also change her programming a little bit, but nevertheless, posture while you're reading, knitting, sitting, watching TV can exacerbate low back pain, postural issues, shoulder pain, even headaches and neck pain. So we have to look at that. And then stress management. If I have somebody coming in here and they just bang out the hardest workout and they're just doing great, and then they go home and they're stressed due to home life, they're stressed due to work life, they're not sleeping well, they're in that, what's that called, fight or flight system. Their body can't release body fat because they're so keyed up and so tight. So stress management is huge if you're looking at, why am I not losing weight? Why are these things not getting any better? Why is my waistline still big? So these are things we have to look at. And this is called the other 165 here at our house. 6 rules wrap up. If you need to make a change in your life, I've just given you 6 things you can work on. Please don't do all of them tomorrow because it will make you a crazy person. And a lot of what we do here is coaching. I mean, people can go so many places in San Jose and Campbell and Los Gatos for a workout. There's tons of places to go for a workout. What we're trying to do here is change lives. And there's coaching. We have to talk to people about certain things. And so we talk about pick one thing to work on. When we do food coaching, I look at a journal. We don't give them a food menu and say, here, eat this, because it may not really resonate with them. It won't work. And they may do it for a while and they'll lose weight, but then they go back to whatever they did to get overweight in the first place. So we talk about what the 6 rules here is: pick one thing. And if it was nutrition, within nutrition, I have a boatload of bullet points in my nutrition. You can't out-train a poor diet section. That's rule 6 section. I have a ton of things that you can work on. And let's say one of them I think is water. Be a water sleuth. How much water are you drinking? If it's minimal, that might be a place to start. It's super simple. Anybody can do it, but you only start with that one thing. I think that's one thing I see with people when they embark on trying to be healthier or start an exercise program or eat better. They try to change 110 things at once. The brain doesn't like that. We as humans seek pleasure and avoid pain. And how flippin' painful is changing 110 things tomorrow? It's too many decisions, and we make thousands of decisions a day. So we start here, slow boat, it's just a slow boat. It's going to take a while to get the goals, but the thing is people hang on to the weight loss because they change things over time. Habit change is really what we're talking about here with the 6 rules. And pick one rule and work on that. It will be less overwhelm. And once you get better at that rule, let's say within the nutrition chapter, drinking more water, or maybe it's decreasing how much sugar you put in your coffee, just that one of those 2 things, one of them, and you do it for 3 or 4 weeks, it becomes a little bit about who you are. It starts to become more of your identity. Once something becomes more of your identity, it's just what you do. It's kind of funny, like people will say, oh, I'm not really an exerciser. Well, one, that's mindset. So get that out of your mindset, but also slowly start to put your shoes out before you go to bed at night and get up and walk the dog, and then get up and maybe walk a little further. And then maybe the next day you actually do Allen Quicksilver. You become an exerciser. It's your new identity. So think about, as you look at these 6 rules, what's the one that hit you the most? Is there one thing out of all those 6 where you go, oh yeah, I really need to work on that one? Just do that one. And then within those chapters, there's other things like with nutrition. There's a lot in there that I tell you, you might want to look at. And then pick one of those little things. We change our lives by changing our habits over time. And it takes time because we're creatures of habit and we have to change the habit. So that is my 6 rules. If you want the book, I think that we're going to have a link once the webinar goes out, so you can click it. This is obviously not clickable. I'll just leave that on there for a little bit. That is a link to the LifeSport Fitness website. And if you, actually, that's going to take you right to the sign up page. If you just went to lifesportfitness.net, you can scroll down to the bottom footer, and it will say get Becky's ebook for free. You can put your name in and you will get an automatic download of the book for free. You can get it on Amazon if you want hard copy, but it's an easy book. It's I call it an airplane book. You get on a flight to Vegas, you'll have the book done before you land. And don't start any of the rules when you're in Vegas, wait till you get home. Maggie had asked me if I would do some exercise demonstrations. And I decided to video a few of them because I didn't want to be moving. For fear that I would make you guys dizzy if I moved my laptop. If we have some questions, I'll answer them, and if they involve exercise, I'll make you dizzy and move so you can see me on the ground or over by my weight training stuff over there. But what I'm going to do is click one more slide down. I have 2 exercises for low back health. You need basically no equipment to do either one. I'll tell you some equipment you could add to one of them to make it a little more challenging. And then I'm going to, because we get a lot of questions about posture sometimes, and sore shoulders, tight shoulders, can't reach up to the upper cabinet, because your shoulders hurt. Sometimes there's a lot going on in both shoulder and back issues. So number 1, disclaimer, if you have chronic pain, get a diagnosis. If somebody comes in to me here and says, my back hurts, my shoulder hurts, I want to get in better shape, my next door neighbor said you're the person to see. Awesome. However, let's talk about that neck and back pain. I ask a lot of questions. If it's something that I think is within our wheelhouse here, we take them on and we start working on low back health and shoulder health. Sometimes I refer out because I want a diagnosis. I want to know why the thing is hurting, because that will help me figure out the best exercise programming here. So disclaimer, if you have a lot of pain, go get it checked out. It's always a good idea. But here's some very basic exercises for you. I'm going to just talk through this while I turn on the video. There's no sound to the video. It's just going to be me telling you what's going on. I'm on my back. My feet are hip width apart. I'm going to push through my feet. I am not arching my back. And I'm holding my arms up for a little more challenge. This is called the bridge. I'm working my butt muscles, also known as the gluteus maximus, and my back extensor muscles. This is a fab exercise if you have low back pain or knee pain, because we need strong butt muscles if we have bad knees. Second exercise for low back health is called bird dog. My knees are under my hips, my hands are under my shoulders. I take my right leg out, I'm gonna pull my belly in, I'm squeezing that right butt muscle, and I'm gonna take my left arm out and I'm gonna hold. I'm breathing and I'm squeezing that butt muscle on the right, and then I'm gonna switch and I'm gonna do the other side. I'm squeezing that left butt muscle. I pull my belly in, no arch in the back, squeezing that butt, my arm is out, and I'm breathing, squeezing, and holding. That is bird dog. I tell people start with 30 seconds or so, 10 seconds, and then go to maybe holding that bird dog 1 minute per side. This is my postural exercise. I've got a stretchy band there, and I've got my elbows glued to my ribs, and I'm gonna pull the band apart. I'm using the muscles that stabilize my arm bone in the socket. I'm standing tall, I'm exhaling as I pull, inhaling as I go back to the start. Again, elbows glued to the ribs. That's super important. So super, super easy. You can get those bands on Amazon. I'm also going to show you a band here. I'm going to get out of that. Whoops, there we go. Right here. This is a stretchy band that you wouldn't be able to use for the exercise where I was pulling apart. But some of you, somewhere in your closet, because you had physical therapy 19 years ago, you've got a flat sheath of latex rubber that's been tied in a knot by your therapist. It's going to be longer. That's the thing you can use. You can tie it in a door and do one arm at a time, right? Anything that externally rotates those shoulders against resistance is what will help. You can get, again, this is a circle band. Oh, by the way, you can put this circle band around your knees while you do the bridge. You lift into the bridge and press your legs out. There'll be more butt muscle activated. So that's another way to work the glutes even harder than just the bridge. Start with the bridge, work up to time, maybe a minute, even maybe 2 minutes. And then if you're doing well with that, you can add a band around the thighs, press it out, and you'll get more rear end muscle working for you. So that's all I have. Do I have a question?
First of all, let's all take a drink of water. Thank you, Becky.
Yay.
Awesome. I don't know about you guys, but when Becky was talking about posture and sitting up, everyone just immediately probably just sat up straight. Do you find that when you talk about posture?
Yes.
I felt that. If you guys have questions that you want to ask Becky, because you have the expert in the room, this is the time to put them in the Q&A box or the chat. I have questions, so I would just ask my questions. It sounds to me like as you are 40 and over, the key should really be focusing on the strength training versus doing the cardio training. Like if you had to pick one, I got 45 minutes today. What am I going to be focusing on? Really, it's building my muscles. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am, because that's going to help you as you age, metabolically speaking, burning calories, functionally speaking, balance, staving off frailty. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that cardio isn't important. It is. We need cardiovascular fitness. We need to pump our blood. We need to get the heart rate up. Interestingly, depending on how you manage it, you can get a small cardio benefit from how you put together your strength training. We do that here. The heart rate goes up a little bit. It's a little bit more stressful where we don't take as much rest with the personal training. Sometimes if people chit-chatting, they don't.
That's enough of a break, everyone. Back to work.
But yes.
Right?
So yes, I really think strength training is hugely important. And that's not to say that Pilates isn't great and yoga isn't great and rowing isn't great and Peloton isn't great. I have a Peloton. I do two to three times a week. I want to get my heart rate up. I want to break a sweat. But I know that strength training helps my arthritic back. I know that it helps my bones. And I feel better when I strength train. That's a personal thing.
Your butt, right? That's really that's what you would do. Okay, so now that we've talked about this, the importance of cardio is still important. I would like you to answer the dilemma that everyone always seems to have. Is it better to do cardio first or weightlifting first?
Great question. What's your goal? We got to train for the goal. So you put in front what is most important. For instance, Miss Maggie is training for a run. So you need to run first.
Okay.
Strength training will not hurt you. Some people say, oh, I don't want to get bound up with muscle. It will help your muscular endurance. Case in point, we had a gentleman who's been in our large group programming. It's not here at the studio for 10 years. When he came to us, he was in really good shape. He runs a half marathon a month.
Oh my.
13.1 miles. He enters half marathons once a month. He PR'd after 6 weeks in our boot camp. Why? We improved his core strength and endurance so he could run longer because he wasn't pooping out. His body, his muscles could hold him better to do what he needed to do. So still, if he was training for a marathon, I'd always say, always do your runs first. You may do more runs than you do strength training. And you may do that as well, Maggie. Right now, you're training for a run. So running is the first thing you need to do. I used to do cardio first as a younger person and then weights, because I kind of thought, well, my cardio is my warm up. Well, my cardio was in one plane of motion. It's on the stair climber, right? I'm not moving sideways. I'm not warming up my joints. We have people doing things with their arms, right, before they start lifting weight, because I got to get that shoulder joint juiced up. But it depends on the goal. So if somebody is trying to decrease their osteoporosis, I would say strength training, not decrease it, but manage it. We can't really put bone back on when we're old. We just have to slow down the loss. I would say strength training is probably number one, and then weight. Their cardio is important in it. Some of it, at least some of it, should be weight bearing. Yeah.
Right.
Depends on what your goal is.
I like it. Good. That was a good answer. You had mentioned some of us might have equipment lying around our house that we have used that's just, we'll use it someday or whatever. What are some key home equipments you think that people should be having if they can't get a trainer, they can't go to the gym? A couple of things that they should have, like, around the house.
Be right back.
Oh, she's coming back. She's coming back. She's got an example. There it is.
These are great. We use these. We do dumbbells here. We have kettlebells. We do body weights types of things, but these are great. I can stick this in a door with a door attachment, and I can do rows, right? I can have the band behind me in a door attachment, and I can do a chest press. I can stand on it and do an arm curl. I wouldn't stand on this one and do a shoulder press because it's too heavy, but if I had a lighter band, I can stand on it and do a shoulder press. So these are great for travel. You can throw these in, if you're driving somewhere like to the coast, you can put these in your car. If you're flying to Chicago, you can put these in they don't weigh a whole lot. You get 2 or 3 sizes for, like, shoulder press, you need a lighter band, just like you would a lighter dumbbell if you were to do this. Whereas for something for the chest or the back, bigger muscles, you could use heavier bands. So bands are super great for in-home workouts. Super good. Get them online.
I like it. Okay, I've got some of those, so I can pull those out of my garage bin of stuff that I have there.
In the book, I have links to a workout with bands, by the way.
Oh,
I think it must be the strength training, or might be in the appendix somewhere, because I know I made videos of here's what you're going to do with the band. So it's in there somewhere in the book. Yeah.
Okay, we've got if you had to pick, like, a core set of exercises, this is from the audience, a core set of exercises that maybe you would do daily to maintain your health, what kind of core exercises would you do? Or maybe it's not the exercises, maybe it's the muscles, or how would you categorize it?
I'm not sure, when they say core exercises, do they mean like basic, or do they mean abs, core abs and back? I'm not sure.
It just says general exercises you would do daily to maintain your health.
Okay. So I probably wouldn't do the same thing every day. But to maintain my health, if I wanted to maintain my flexibility, I could do that every day. And that would be a series of stretches. I think that doing some stretches and the mobility exercises we do here are things that you could do every day. I would not strength train every day, but if I were to have core exercises for strength training, it would be something that's pushing, could be a push up on the wall, push up on the ground, something that's pulling. It could be pulling a band, or it could be leaning over and doing a bent over row with a dumbbell. I would do squats, because we all squat. You don't think about it, but if you're going to go potty, you sit on the potty and that's a squat. So maybe putting a little medicine ball, or even a band under each foot, and then hold the handles here, and then do some squats to have a resisted squat. But there's no basic exercise that I would tell people to do every day, except possibly stretching for mobility. I don't do bird dog every day. I do that probably 3 or 4 times a week, but I do some mobility exercises for my back, because when we have arthritis, sometimes the bone that's falling apart kind of gets fused together. So I do mobility exercises for my back every day. Let's say somebody said, I'm really tight in my shoulders. I would be having them do this every day. When they get up, all they're doing is they're just moving the arm bone in the socket. So part of what should somebody do every day probably depends on who they are and what might be malfunctioning. Do they have bad posture? Maybe they need to do some back extensions when they get up every day. If they have plantar fasciitis, that's a soreness on the bottom of the foot. Maybe before they get out of bed, they need to stretch their toes every day. So it might be a different answer for everybody, but I think mobility, moving, not just stretching, is a really good thing for everybody to do every day.
I think this sort of begs the question, which is another version of what I always get when I'm an attorney is, do you really need a personal trainer? Or what is the benefit of having a personal trainer or a fitness person or going to, not just like, I'm going to get up one day and sort of work. So why do you think it's important for somebody to have a fitness person in their life, an expert?
And do you really need one? Maybe not, but I've seen a lot of people do a lot of useless things in their workout at their local gym, or they come to me and they go, I've been working out for months and, my back hurts, my shoulder hurts. And I thought, well, let's talk about what you're doing. And it's just a completely unbalanced workout. I had a gentleman who showed me a 3-ring binder, an attorney, by the way. He was not a software. I figured he would have been an engineer because he had a 3-ring binder with every workout he had ever done for the last few years. And we worked through it and I looked through it and I found some imbalances. He was working a lot of the front of his body and not so much in the back. And he wasn't paying enough attention to his backside, his butt muscles. So I just said, okay, so Dan, here's what we're gonna do. I want you to take a chest exercise out and supplement. So we're doing 2 back exercises for every type of chest exercise you do. And then I want you to do some exercises that really work on the glute muscle and what's called gluteus medius. The shoulder pain and the hip pain went away. He's still working out, but the shoulder and the hip pain went away. So he doesn't have a personal trainer every day. He had one for a short period of time to give him the right balance for what he needed to have done. So why does somebody need a trainer? I don't think everybody does. Quite honestly, some people walk in here because they say, if I didn't have the appointment, I would not have shown up today because I got a ton load to do.
It's the accountability.
It's a monthly fee to come in here. So accountability, safety, and a programming that targets the goal properly and minimizes injury. A lot of people do hurt themselves. We're actually right across the hallway. I can look over here and I can see people working out at Planet Fitness. And every once in a while, one of my clients will look over there and go, oh, see what that lady in the yellow shorts is doing? Didn't you tell us that's really bad? I'm like, yeah. Are you gonna do anything? No, what do you want me to do? Go walk, knock on the window? No, I'm here. If she needs help, once her back hurts, she looks like she's about 22, another 20 years, all that forward bending with no support, that's gonna be a problem. Of course, I'll be retired or dead by that point. But anyway, so, do you need a trainer? I think that good coaches can shorten the learning curve and we hold people accountable. Could I have done my own trust? Yeah, probably with some kind of legal Zoom or something, but human feedback, hey, this isn't working, let's tweak this a little bit. Or, you probably don't need that in the trust, but we definitely need to have this. Or have you ever thought about this? Getting a professional shortens the learning curve and sometimes keeps you out of trouble. Definitely with attorneys and sometimes with coaches, fitness coaches as well. But no, not everybody needs one. But sometimes one guy said it's the best money he's ever spent. He goes, my wife's been with you for 12 years. I never really understood why. She can work out anywhere. He goes, now I get it. He goes, I get it.
Excellent.
I'm here. Yeah.
We have a couple more minutes, everyone. If anybody else has any other questions, otherwise I'm going to ask my last personal question, which is, I'm running. Is it better for me to run with a heart rate goal or with a time goal or a distance goal or a combination, or you're the expert?
Yeah. So I'm actually not a running expert. And I was thinking that, it could be that a running coach might tell you something different. See, but my feeling is
expert, this is the expert coach that you were just talking about. So it's perfect.
Yeah. Is that what I would say is that, let's just say you're running a half marathon. You need to train to be able to run 13.1 miles. At some point, you need to work up to that. I'm not as worried about your heart rate. If you were doing some type of some little Olympic games where you had to sprint, we might want to work on those, getting to that, what I'd call that the training of your threshold. We're really pushing what's called lactic acid threshold, which is a technical term, but we need to be able to push you to be able to get through that burn in your thighs and run past the finish line. Then we might want to look at heart rate. Then we might want to look at speed. But when somebody's training for a running goal as an exercise enthusiast, you're not a college athlete, you're not an Olympian, you're not a senior Olympian or whatever.
Regular
train for
40-something-year-old person.
Yeah, and you just want to freaking get across the finish line with a decent time. I get that. Is simply run and strategize your runs to increase the length to what you are going to run. What I would do, because I have, back in the day when I was an in-home trainer, I did train a few people for runs. And one thing we would do is we would go to a track, a high school track. It's a quarter mile. Sometimes I was over at West Valley, so we'd do the West Valley track, quarter mile, is to run speed. It's called speed play or fartleks, where you go hard, then you go easy, then you go hard, then you go easy. Why? Some of the physiological things that happen help your endurance. Even though you're working sprint, they can actually help your muscular endurance because your body gets better at getting rid of the waste products. So now I'm getting all technical, but here's the thing, is I wouldn't worry that much about heart rate unless you've had a running coach say, I need you to run at 130, between 137 and 142 beats per minute. Why might they say that? Probably because they put you on a treadmill or they know something about the right training heart rate for the pace you have to maintain. We know we need you at between 137 and 142 because that's 78% of your predicted heart rate max. And we know you can maintain that pace for 42 minutes, which is how long it's going to take you to do that race. They can get real technical, and those are things that I don't know because I don't coach running. But I say train for the distance. And obviously, if you're going to run a half marathon, you don't go out tomorrow and run 13.1 miles. You start with something and then you start to increase. Yeah.
It goes back to what you said earlier, though, about finding the right fit for your goals, which goes back to finding your why and finding your ultimate goal along the way there. All right. I don't see any other questions. I ran through all of my questions. I definitely can see why, Becky, you're the expert here.
Oh, thank you.
And we've recorded this. We'll make it available for you to watch it again, to share. And we will send out an email with links to everyone for Becky's contact information and for her book link. So definitely read up on that. And if you guys have any Ask the Expert ideas you want to hear about this year, then shoot me an email. That'll also be in the email. And otherwise, have a great weekend. And thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.